Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Oliver Hayes alongside Harrison Simeon, and we are back for episode 9. Let's get into it.
Yeah, there's a lot to go over. I think the biggest result of the week was the Colorado women's basketball team completely upsetting by destroying the number 1 team in the country, the reigning champs, LSU. And obviously football had their game, another loss to Oregon State. But, maybe things can turn around the last little stretch of the season. We could go over what the team can do to do so. And we'll obviously talk about the men's team. They started their season as well.
They did.
Basketball. And a lot to go over, I would say.
Yeah, so let's get into it. I don't know. It's kind of a hard decision this week, honestly, with the women's huge win. But I don't know. I guess since we're still in football, we can start with that and kind of just get that out of the way. Was there anything? I mean, obviously, Pat Shurmur took over the offense. I guess we can just start there.
Most of the play calling I thought was pretty similar in terms of scheme, in terms of the concepts they were using. And just still just a non-existent run game still. I was really disappointed in terms of the run game because, as soon as the game started, you kind of felt like we had something. Our defense was playing out of their minds. Our defense was, forcing turnovers again, even though Oregon State isn't a team that typically turns the ball over. But we still weren't taking advantage of it because we were just going straight into the pass. And with Shedeur not really having a lot of time to throw, it was really tough. The offensive line, I would say, played better. It was hard to play worse than they did against UCLA. But
yeah,
I don't think we gave up we only maybe gave up 1 sack in the whole first half. I forget what the exact numbers were, but
I'd have to look for that first half.
We only gave up 4. Only 4.
Only 4.
But I think most of those were towards the end of the game when we were just trying to desperately get back in it. Because I feel like the biggest story was coaching. And it just the coaching wasn't up to par. That decision to keep trying to score with about 49 seconds left in the first half.
Yeah.
From our damn near our own end zone was really dumb in hindsight. It obviously was the difference of the game. It came down to 7 points, and it was a 7-point swing because we punted the ball away. And Oregon State scored in 1 play to end the first half. So I think the biggest thing was just we struggled to stop the run down the stretch. Obviously, we got tired. We struggled to start the game, but then we started to fill the gaps better. We started to shore up those holes, but then when they tried to pass, that's when it started to catch on in terms of chunk plays. But I would say the defense has been much improved. I'm proud of the progress they've made. So I think that is definitely the biggest positive takeaway I can have is the defense coming through. But it's tough for the defense to really look good overall when the offense has been so discombobulated, I would say is the right word.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that because, the defense stepped up. 2 turnovers like we talked about. They had 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. They, of course, returned that 2-point conversion in the third quarter. But, I just can't imagine, how frustrating it must be for that team when you force 2 turnovers on Oregon State's half of the field, and all you get is 3 points out of that because Shedeur fumbled right back on that after that first fumble, and then after the second fumble, it was like a run, an incompletion, and then a screen for 7 yards and then a Mata field goal. And it's you just can't win games like that when your defense is putting up numbers and they're giving you those opportunities on offense. And especially you look at you talked about the run game. Outside of Shedeur's 7 attempts, they only ran the ball 12 times. So, Oregon State and everyone else knows that the pass is coming. When you don't have those layers of the offense, it's not like the screen's not working, those dump down passes that you had early in the year aren't working. You don't have those layers, and really the only generation of offense that we've seen from this Colorado team has been on deep balls. And for a while I sent out the tweet, and I don't know, a number of other people had the same thought and sent out the same tweet. But Colorado's best offensive play was Shedeur underthrowing the deep balls so that whoever the receiver was could run back in the defensive back and get the PI. So it was just, I don't know. This offense really just it's just in a tough place right now.
It's stuck in the mud, I would say, compared to early on in the year.
Yeah.
Because you would have those receivers that would step up in big ways, but you haven't really seen much from Omarion Miller since the USC game. Travis has been good, but it's just been tough to get the ball to him. And I think that in terms of just the play calling, I think there's a lot of longer with the change from Lewis to Shermer. There was a lot of longer developing routes on those straight up passes, and then a lot of swing passes to the running backs. When the only guy that I would consider that's really good in open space and that has been that really good in open space has been Dylan Edwards.
Yeah.
And even that wasn't working. So it was just really tough to get anything going from just a general basic offensive standpoint, just moving the ball. Antonio had a really nice catch early in the game, but that was the only catch he had. Jimmy Horn, only 2 catches for 28 yards, had a drop or two. And I think just we're having to rely at this point on Weaver and Travis Hunter when we have so much talent in the receiving room. We have guys like Caleb Mathis who made plays last week against UCLA.
Yeah.
We had guys who made plays early like Tarvarius Dawson, who I haven't even seen on the field since Arizona State and hasn't even logged a catch since Oregon. So
I
feel like there's some misused talent in the offense, and just with the play calling kind of shenanigans that are happening, it's starting to turn into a little bit of a mess with what Sean Lewis's role is exactly. And I wasn't the biggest Sean Lewis fan early on this year, but I would say he's done a better job overall than Shermer did against Oregon State. Obviously, there's a feeling out process with it being the first game of a new play calling scheme, but it really was about the same in terms of sequencing. In terms of, we didn't see much of the screen game. We saw a lot of swing passes, but I really think we should go back to that screen game a little bit more. And some of those quicker underneath routes, because we have a lot of guys that when they get in space, especially the receivers, they can move. And they can move the ball down the field on their own without having to set up a long deep shot from Shedeur.
Yeah, I think another issue to it is kind of going back to like the point I made earlier about like having those different layers is with Shedeur now as beat up as he is, he's not running the ball. Coach Prime has talked about that. He's like, he's moving like me. We hate running this family. So without his ability to scramble from the pocket, the aforementioned inability to run the ball, going to the swing passes instead of those little screen plays. I think on those swing passes you might get a few more yards, but unfortunately with this offense, a few more yards doesn't really help anything. You kind of need those big chunk plays to really elevate this stagnant offense at the moment, and then especially when you're not really having any tight ends with any chip blocks or running backs helping out in the backfield. Even when they did, it's not like it's not like Dylan Edwards is necessarily a great pass block running back. And so offensively it's kind of just a mess. And so I don't know. The defense is good. That's something to look forward to. But to keep hammering home like the offensive struggles and the coaching struggles, I want to go to those two plays. You mentioned the score right before the half for OSU, and I want to hear kind of what your thought process is about that. It's probably like everyone else's, but
so it's kind of like that decision you make in Madden but even in Madden, you're only going to do so if your offense has been clicking. If you feel like you can pull off even a 60, 70-yard drive just to get into field goal range. But there's so little time left that you really just maybe run a draw, and then if that doesn't go anywhere, take a couple knees and end the half. I don't really know what the decision behind that was. I know Coach Prime talked about it. You have a lot of talent. You were going deep a lot. Maybe you thought you could get something through it. But just running, I think it was 3 straight pass plays that just stopped the clock.
Yeah. Well, the issue was, I may be wrong on this, but I think they had to do something to get out of there.
Yeah.
And Coach Prime talked about that, but that was because I believe Oregon State had all 3 of their timeouts, so you couldn't just run the ball out at the end of half because they would have used those timeouts trying to.
Yeah, it was an incomplete pass to Dylan Edwards, and then a drop by Jimmy, and then a run for nothing.
Yeah, and so that's when they called their first timeout afterwards to stop the clock, and then
they had a good punt return.
Yeah,
you got to cover up on special teams. In those kind of scenarios, because they were already basically in field goal range by the time they got the ball back, which was just brutal.
And even where where Colorado was kicking the ball from, Anthony Gold, I think that was his name. He caught that ball at the 50.
Yeah, I mean,
if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. It's just tough. So that was interesting. And then, of course, at the end of the game, the offense finally got going. They finished the game with 3 timeouts, or didn't finish the game with 3 timeouts, but they had 3 timeouts when they gave the ball back to OSU. But what do you think about them electing to kick off through the back of the end zone instead of trying to go for the onside kick?
Yeah, that's another coaching decision I'd say I disagree with. I don't hate it as much as the end of that first half thing, because you have those 3 timeouts. If you onside kick it and they get it, you've had 2 onside kicks so far this year that neither of them have been successful. So maybe you just you saw how your defense had been doing better against the run in that second half. Maybe trying to just make one stop, get the ball back. Anything can happen with how your offense has been playing.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just a little odd to me with Damian Martinez in that backfield. Obviously, a good back.
Right, and the defense has done a good job of covering up, but just make one stop of one sequence was what their goal was.
Yeah.
And it just was kind of a mess. In those kind of late-game scenarios, you've seen some of the inexperience with Coach Prime and some of that staff in those really tight spots against teams that are really physical, that are really experienced. And Oregon State, I would say a 7-point loss to the number 16 team in the country isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I think this game is definitely, the defensive side of things was phenomenal. Because you look at the 2 turnovers that they did force, and then I can remember, I want to say 3 interceptions that Colorado could have had that were just
we had some missed opportunities too. Because it would have been crazy. Oregon State, I'm pretty sure, had only 5 sacks coming into the night. We sacked them 3 times.
Yeah,
and then they only had, I think, 6 turnovers coming into the night, and there could have been 5 potential turnovers that we could have forced.
And it was crazy too, because it was right before Aiden Childs came in for that drive for Ukulele. Or not right before he came in, but he came in for Ukulele for a drive in the second quarter, I believe, and he ended up running for 15 yards on a draw or something. I believe you actually called that in the press box. I remember you being like, "Oh yeah, QB draw," and then that's exactly what happened.
I saw it because the defense was so spread out. They had nobody over, they had no linebacker over the middle. They just had everybody on the line. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, if he notices this, he can just tuck and run." And
that's what he did.
Our defensive line struggled to get off of blocks, especially early on in that game. They struggled to get off of blocks, so it was just, yeah.
But either way, my point was that that the play right before that, Childs threw. It was either in the double coverage or maybe even triple coverage, to along the right hash towards the goal line. And I want to say it was either Shiloh or maybe it was Silman Craig. I forget who came over top. But they got both hands on it, ended up dropping the interception. And it was I don't know. It was wow, I can't believe we didn't get that. And then, of course, the play right after, that scramble for 6.
You have to applaud the defensive performance, though. It's tough that those, but those happen.
I'm not saying that's an issue. I'm just saying that's tough when the defense is already playing so well. They I don't know. I guess it's just the fact that you need to rely on your defense so much, and they played as well as they did, and they still even had a few more opportunities that they could have capitalized on. I think the thing that kind of stands out with this defense a little bit to me is that they still, even when they are playing good, they'll still have a few moments here and there where you're just you almost kind of just scratch your head. I think back to the UCLA game, they had a moment. It was 4th and 11, I think. And Ethan Garbers was able to scramble for 13 yards for first down.
They need to cover up those QB draws.
Yeah. And I think back to the USC game, when they're having that comeback, it was like a 3rd and 6. I mean, if y'all have watched the podcast, I brought this up like 4 times. I wrote like a whole article about it. But it's 3rd and 6. Momentum's going your way. Williams throws in the triple coverage. The ball gets picked off, but Roderick Ward commits a defensive pass interference, and you just have those. You've consistently had those little plays throughout the whole entire season, including chunk plays and just little things like that. And you're not going to play perfectly, but it's just the fact that there's just.
I just think they're almost there. The almost
like
is
just
the
like
biggest part. There's a lot. There's the lapses in judgment at times.
So I say the question is, are they a step away, or do you think they're a step away from being a step away?
I think they're a step away from being a player away.
Okay.
From being a very good defense, because you could see that Charles Kelly's starting to get on them and really starting to hammer home some of the concepts that we've seen like through the past few weeks that have made these they've kept the team in the game. It's been the offense that has been the real issue. And in the beginning of the year, we thought it was going to be we're going to have to score 50 points every game to win.
Yeah.
But I mean, now if you wanted to start going into Arizona, a red hot team that's beat Oregon State a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they beat
UCLA bad, absolutely smoked Wazoo, came within a field goal of USC, came within a touchdown of Washington. This has been a team on fire the past few weeks, and the defense is really going to have to play as they have against UCLA and Oregon State to even have a chance, because their offense has been blazing hot. And if they score, I can't picture our offense scoring like they have against teams like TCU and against Nebraska anymore.
Yeah, especially with Shedeur being hurt. That just hurts so much.
Shedeur not being 100% is just the cherry on top of all of the struggles. It's been a multi-layered issue with the lack of run game, with the play calling, and now with Shedeur not even 100%, but still playing pretty good for not being 100%.
And for being under pressure.
Right. The offensive line, I didn't even mention. That might be the biggest issue of them all. That's what it all comes down to. So it's going to be tough to see them against a team like Arizona, but it's the last home game of the year. We haven't lost. I'm pretty sure I saw we hadn't lost 5 straight home games since 2015 or something like that. It's been a long time.
Yeah. But I don't know.
To picture us going 1-5 at home in a season would be, it would be 2-4. I think the last time we lost 4 in a row at home was 2015, because we won Nebraska and Colorado State, but those are the only 2 home games we've won. So Arizona State. Arizona.
Yeah, and
they're 6-3, but they're much better than that. They're now finally ranked 21 after 3 straight ranked wins. They've played the top of the Pac-12 very, very well, but they almost lost to Stanford, just like we did lose to Stanford. Though I think they've been on a roll in terms of matchups with some of these more physical teams in the Pac-12. And we're a less physical team, so we'll see how we match up. But they're pretty... I just noticed as you're going down the stats of these players, go up. Montana Lamonius Craig.
Oh, yeah. No, I was reading that name, and I was I was freaking myself out, because I was reading that name, and I was like, why can't I just put 2 and 2 together right now? But yeah.
But the former buff from last year that transferred to Arizona. So yeah, it's he actually had a touchdown last game against UCLA. So it'll be tough, and their defense has been pretty solid also lately. Obviously, holding UCLA to 10 points, completely shutting down that offense.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just. And they did all of that, I think, without forcing any turnovers.
Yeah, they don't really force too many turnovers. Only 2 interceptions on the year, and they forced 8 fumbles but only recovered 6. So, in comparison to Colorado, I think Colorado passed that by, was it week 4 or week 5? It was something like that.
Yeah.
So they're probably not going to force Colorado to turn the ball over, and honestly, not too many teams have forced Colorado to turn the ball over, because I don't know. It's pretty easy when, I don't know, it's an incompletion, a screen pass, and then another incompletion or something like that, and then a punt.
Right.
But
it's
or
not
sack,
like the
you know,
offense has
like,
been making a ton of mistakes. It's just that they've not been able to move the ball.
yeah, they just haven't had time, and they don't have the layers like I'm talking about, and it's not necessarily bad play. It's just not having the pieces and the personnel to really do what you want to do as a coaching staff, and so I feel like, I don't know, as much as like as we have harped on the coaching decisions, which they should be harped on. I mean, some of the time management, some of the decisions in the last game, you know, some of the play calling, you can't look back at that and be like, wow, yeah, we can do, like, Colorado can do something different. But on the other hand, when you have a line like this, that has very little depth, and I don't know, it is your first year with this program, all working together with this whole new team, this whole new roster. You have guys coming in like right before the season started, and you're trying to figure stuff out. Like, I don't know. I think there's also just a little bit of a disconnect there, just trying to figure out what you're gonna do, because I don't know, like, if they knew what to do and if it was that easy, they would have done it by now.
Right.
And so I feel like, I don't know, it does get hard a little bit with the personnel and some of the struggles that Colorado's had, because yeah, I don't know. But either way, that's enough football for me. I'm down to move on to the good stuff now.
I did want to just throw in some keys if Colorado wants to win. I think stopping them on third down is going to be going to be huge, because they're 48% on third down, and I think that would be, even in the NFL, like, up there as one of the best. I don't know what they're ranked in NCAA, but 48% on third down. They do turn the ball over a decent bit. They have 9 picks this year, and I think 3 fumbles lost. They've fumbled 6 times, so it'll be important. They have a -4. They have a negative turnover ratio. So, they're 17th in the country in third down percentage. So that's pretty good. Best in the Pac, or second in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
behind Oregon and Washington. So yeah, just to be behind them is extremely huge.
Yeah, no, that's scary for that Colorado offense, because like I said, I mean, they'll play.
It's going to keep them off the field. It's going to keep them frustrated after, some of those drives don't go well.
Yeah, and it's just, like I said, it just takes one of those plays with this Colorado defense kind of break it open on some of those drives, and I feel like it's those third downs, those fourth downs that Colorado kind of gets lackadaisical, and then unfortunately his past 2 games, that first drive right out of the break, that teams have
And and Arizona also lost a guy who has 7.5 sacks. So to limit, I think Taylor Upshaw is his name, and then Jacob Manu has their most tackles by a while. So they have really good linebackers, it seems like, on the defensive end, and their quarterback, has it been DeLaura that's been playing lately, or I know they've played 2 different ones.
Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure.
I'd have to go check on that, because I think that they have a new guy in and he's been playing well. Oh, it's Fafita. It is Fafita.
Okay.
So he's been really, really good. He's been really efficient. But if we can get them to turn the ball over again, I mean, you never know. So that's the last thing I'll add. I think the team is going to play with it's going to be tough to see them play with a ton of motivation, just because of how, like, +4 the last 5. Just trying to scrape our way to a bowl game at this point. Maybe that Wazoo game doesn't look too intimidating now after they've lost the past couple of games. They lost to Stanford, just like us.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they play this week going into that game. But I think Arizona's red hot. I think they get a win. If my score prediction, I'm going to say 27-24. We play a little bit better offensively, but just not. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to see with all the coaching issues that we've been having.
Yeah, and I'd say, I don't know, it is also hard to predict, like, a score prediction with this team, because, like, they'll play horribly for, like, 3 quarters, at least offensively, and then the fourth quarter recently they finally started to get the ball moving, and they'll make it like a 1-score game. So.
Yeah, I mean, they only had 52 total yards in the first half. That's
they had, I believe it
pathetic.
was 2 total yards of offense in the second quarter. 2 total yards, like, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So, absolutely insane. But
Let's move on to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's move on to that women's team
the Lady Buffs.
catching the dub, as big of a dub as you could get at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been. I think this was the most amount. They've only scored higher than this once last year. If that was the stat.
In the entire time J.R. Payne has been the coach, we've only scored 92 or more once against the Power 5 team.
Gotcha.
Like
That's
all the
what it
other
was.
times we were, it was like early season.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like Southeast Louisiana. I remember I looked it up right in my recap of this game. But it was last year against Cal. We scored 95. We destroyed them. And that was at home. And that was, we were on a roll. But this is to start the season on the road in Vegas against the number one team in the country that only got better from last year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I'd love to throw that comparison we made to that Warriors team.
Oh my God,
like,
it's like when the Warriors got KD.
Yeah.
You can go into
Yeah,
it.
no, yeah, you said, yeah, with the Warriors, when they added KD, they also had the first overall pick, and they're also much deeper. And
they got another all-star.
Yeah, and then,
they got LSU, they got Haley Van Lith, who I would guess is the KD in this situation.
I'd say
because
so.
she was an All-American last year. But then they added another All-American, Anissa Morrow from DePaul. So that would be like if they added, I don't know, what's a good, like if they added like,
I don't know. I'd have to think back to who
Kawhi, if they added Kawhi or something like that in 2016. I'm just trying to think like in that time period who would be the best.
Yeah, and then of course, the number one recruit in the nation for LSU,
right. Michaela Williams, who turned out to be their best player, led the team with 17 points. But I think that was a lot in part because of where this win started was on the interior, with Aaronette Vonleh playing 31 minutes and just being absolutely dominant.
Yeah.
Even getting the stamp of approval from Shaq after the win, as he came in the locker room, instantly pointed at Vonleh. I know you're the Celtics guy. She's the sister of Noah Vonleh, if you remember him.
I did not know that, actually. Yeah, no. Celtics legends for about I don't even think he played the full season with us.
I knew he was on them at some point.
Yeah, he was. That was a pitiful squad. I believe Jabari Parker was on that squad, if I remember correctly. Peyton Pritchard was getting better minutes. That was tragic times. I believe Brad Wanamaker was on that team as well. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look, but it's in a Celtics broadcast.
Yeah, but anyway, Aaronette Vonleh was unbelievable. I think she and Frida. We'll get into Frida in a second, but I want to start with Vonleh because I think that's where that win started. She opened up everything for us offensively. It's starting to snow outside. Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Now we gotta walk back. We are in a different location for this episode. But yeah, Vonleh, she just got into great positions on the inside from the very start. She got behind Angel Reese. I mean, it's hard to play against Angel Reese in any capacity. Reese led the nation in rebounds last year. She had like 15 a game, had 12 tonight, but her impact felt very, very limited because of how Vonleh just bullied her in the defensive end.
Yeah.
Or bullied her, I guess, offensively against Reese. Shooting 11 for 15, was able to move in transition really well. She had 4 assists of her own, which is definitely more than usual. She played really well within that offense, and if she can turn into an all Pac-12 level player, this team is scary because we have Jalen Sherrod, who played out of her mind, 19 points, got to the line over and over and over again because of the rim pressure she generates. She had 6 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals.
Love our house. Yep.
Oh, I don't know. It's cracking. ESPN acting weird.
ESPN ad.
Um,
Yeah, Sherrod played great. She did try some threes, like I mentioned. She tried one early, didn't make any of them, but it's good to see that she's trying. But if we're going to talk about threes, we cannot
go without talking about 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh my God. She was unconscious.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were watching that whole stretch of when she was hitting him, but it was a sight to behold. Like, she was just getting them. She wasn't even that open when she got the ball.
She looked off the line a little bit too. They weren't close threes.
No, they weren't. They were from pretty far out, and her release is so quick and so smooth. They just swish every time. Like, it wasn't even like they'd bank in, like rim, get a lucky bounce off the rim.
Yeah.
She was on fire, and if she can stay at about 80% of that for most of the season, our offense is going to be so much better than it was last year. Our offense last year was a bit, of a struggle, more of a defensive team. But our defense was great. I mean, even though we did give up 78, that was a lot in part because LSU was having to pull out all the stops in the second half to try to get anything going. Van Lith we held to 4-11. Morrow we held to 2-9. Flaude Johnson, who was the SEC Freshman of the Year last year, we held to just 3 points on one field goal make. And it was really just an all-around great defensive effort because we minimized the impact of their best players, and our best players were the most impactful players on the floor.
Yeah, and Colorado also limited the 3-ball. Only 10 3-pointers. That's not really heard of too much in this day and age. I mean, that wasn't really too big of a thing, but it is also interesting looking at the stat sheet. I'm kind of trying to put some takeaways together now because I was watching because the men's game was at the same time and I was covering that. So I was kind of watching 2 games at once. But it's interesting that off the bench, you have Charlotte Whittaker. I was thinking of Cam Whittaker, my bad. Charlotte Whittaker, Sarah Rose Smith, and Kendall Wetta had 4 or more fouls. And you look in the starting lineup. We got in
foul trouble in that second quarter, especially.
Yeah, but I will say it is interesting seeing that the majority of the fouls trouble came on the bench. Where against Iowa last year, that happened to our starters, and I felt like that was kind of a consistent thing with some of Colorado's centers and forwards is just kind of finding themselves in foul trouble. And so to be able to, I'm not sure if it was necessarily like a point that they made, but no offense to Charlotte Whittaker, but I don't think she's guarding Angel Reese like that. So to be able to send some of LSU's more talented players to the line and just play a lot more physical. I mean, Angel Reese only shot 6 of 15 from the field. That's fantastic.
6 of 15 is great.
So I thought that was interesting. And I thought defensively, offensively you can look at what they did and how the floor got opened up by Nettie, how Sherrod drove the ball, how Three shot the ball. But I said 3, I didn't even say
we could just say
name.
it subconsciously. No, I mean.
I might as well. But yeah, their defensive effort. I mean, they gave up 78 points, but holding their LSU's key players to poor percentages from the field and forcing kind of those lesser players to have to step up for LSU. Those less experienced players. I felt that was a big point in winning this game and I don't know. I mean, they looked like a complete squad. They looked like a team that wanted to play together, that wanted to win, and the vibe that you just get from this team is that they really want to make some waves this year. And,
I think they will.
And it will be expected. So
I think, speaking of expected, I think the expectations of this team are going to skyrocket after that win. But this is a team that I think is built for it. I mean, J.R. Payne's built a really great all-around squad with so many players that can do different things. I thought Tamia Sadler, I was a bit concerned about her in the starting lineup earlier. She played within herself. She had 3 steals, looked great on the defensive end. The entire team wasn't letting LSU get anything easy. I think that was the biggest part of how their defense was. They just played with so much intensity from the opening tip and just made their offense really inefficient, settle for more jump shots, and it worked out. I mean, and I thought on the offensive end they moved the ball really well, 24 assists, especially in the second half. They were able to get those open looks from 3. But you looked, it's just really that core 4 of players of Foreman, Sherrod, Quay, and Aronette. And if 2 of the 4 of them can step up on any given night, we can beat any team in the country.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the scary part.
And that's just if 2 of them step up.
Right, and Quay didn't even play that well. I mean, she hit 2 big threes, but she went just 2 for 6 from the free throw line and 2 for 7 from the field. It was a tough night for her. Especially guard, she was the only person I thought that was affected by LSU's defense to a decent extent, just because if she plays, more slow and in the post and kind of gets blocked easier with her, but when she's able to get inside better, and kind of body smaller defenders and find those mismatches, we're gonna see Quay unlocked in a different way. I mean, she was all Pac-12 last year,
yeah.
So I could picture. I mean, we could have 3 or 4 all Pac-12 level players this year.
Yeah.
Which is insane. And I think with how good the Pac-12 is going to be this year, we saw, I think it was Juju Watkins, or let me look it up. It was Juju on USC. They beat Ohio State, who's the number 1 team in the country. I mean, number 7, and USC's 21. So yeah, Juju Watkins went crazy in her first game with USC. She's a freshman, and she scored 32.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just so much talent across women's basketball at the moment. It's really amazing that like Colorado is going to be right in the midst of it this year, because just the environment of college basketball at this current moment is just so fantastic.
I know, especially women's. I mean, women's is so much. I feel is so much on the rise.
Bro? ESPN is preying on the downfall. Good Lord. Anyways,
but yeah, with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, obviously, that rivalry coming to a head in the national championship last year. Obviously, there's, we could see some parity this year with our team, with a lot of the teams in the Pac-12. You could see Paige, is it Beckers?
Paige Beckers, yeah.
For UConn balling out after her injury. And yeah, I feel like you're going to see real stars now, finally, that could really capture the attention of people on the women's side for college basketball. Because, I mean, you have tons of really, really good players for men's, but you see with the NBA now, I mean, a lot of the stars of college basketball are going different routes. They're just playing a year and then going to the league, or playing in the G League now, or AAU, and
or OTE, like
all
those different
stuff.
things.
So you're not seeing as many stars in men's college basketball, but you're seeing them in the women's now, which is great to see. I mean, obviously we've come toe to toe in these last 2 games against probably the 2 biggest stars in terms of pull in women's college basketball with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So
yeah, and the hope is I don't know, from a CU standpoint, first of all, with this caliber of a team, you do wonder how many of these girls are going to go play professionally. I mean, not just play professionally, but play in the WNBA, and how that will go.
Yeah.
But just the general scheme of things, generally women's college basketball, I mean, the last year's national championship drew more viewers than the men's national championship. The most watched WNBA game of all time was this year's Game 4 of the WNBA Finals. They drew just over 1 million. They just drew just over 1 million viewers. That national championship that I just talked about, they drew over 10 million viewers. And so the hope is that I'm hoping that this group of women's college basketball players at this current time can help move into the WNBA, and hopefully the CU players can be along with it, because I'd love to be hearing, Jalen Sherrod, Frida Foreman, Nettie Vonleh, Quay Miller, and whoever else may come along for this team down the line.
Yeah.
I'm
really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to seeing where these girls go, because they're insanely talented. I mean, you're gonna need. I mean, with the WNBA, you're going to need players like Frida Foreman to hit shots. I mean, that's a big part of the game, is shooting. So that, and then if Nettie can continue to use her size and positioning and footwork, I saw all of it just perfectly the other night. And with Quay, she can be a solid WNBA player, and Jalen's energy and just leadership, I feel like I could see, at the forefront as a best player on a women's
especially with their athleticism.
Years. Oh yeah. I'm really looking forward to see what they do. I know it's tough with the WNBA because you see a lot of top draft picks like getting cut.
Yeah, it's tough because they don't have a lot of roster spots. They don't have a lot of they don't have too many teams this season. Is fairly short. It's around the length of a college season. And so for like us in Colorado, the women's Colorado Buffaloes team is the biggest women's basketball attraction in the state of Colorado. That's where we're going to, and so it'd be so fantastic if Denver would be able to find a WNBA team, or not find one, but get an expansion team, and now you got another team to root for, and then hopefully, if I don't know how I haven't kept up with the WNBA as much, but like I don't know. I don't know how often players go back to play for their hometowns, and so I don't know. Maybe Denver gets that relocation.
I love that.
And we get some of these names.
I love that.
Back in Colorado sometime soon.
And I think this team has the potential, like just for this year, overall, with the coaching we have, with the talent and the different players we have, I think we have the potential to go to the Final Four.
Yeah,
I
do
really
too.
do. I mean, it's crazy that I'm putting these expectations on them now, but if we got to the Sweet 16 last year and we're playing this level of competition, or we're playing up to the level of competition, we're able to upset teams like Duke, we're able to be ahead at halftime against an Iowa, and we're able to basically run the reigning national champs, a team that people call the super team. I mean, we went over just a few minutes ago.
Expected to be one of the best women's basketball teams to ever play.
With the highest paid women's coach, I think in all women's sports history. I'm not 100% on that. I know Kim Mulkey is the largest contract in women's college basketball. And then I looked up WNBA, and it was much higher than the highest WNBA coach in history. So it's Kim
Mulkey's leading right now.
Yeah,
or at least for college basketball.
And this is that's a team. I mean, they were expected to just have this night of celebration and just go into the year, be better than they were last year. Have players like Van Lith and Morrow add to how good that team is, just because of Reese and Flaujae, and Michaela Williams with the cherry on top as the number 1 recruit of the 2023 class, starting a point guard and playing really well. So they were expected to just go in and cruise, but our team looks really prepared every night.
Yeah, I think another underrated aspect of this game is just the rebounding. LSU only won the rebound battle by 2 boards.
Yeah,
I feel like that's obviously
with Angel Reese on a team, it's hard to lose a rebound battle, but to have that within 2. I mean, I said in my initial preview, if this game is even competitive, I'm excited about the team's potential this year. But we smoked them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will say that Kim Mulkey is right when she says that this is the time that you want to play this LSU squad, of course, being early in the year, the first game of the year. But yeah, no, it definitely sets the standard, the expectations for the rest of the year, and then for the future as well, because this is something that, I mean, this game was on TST, this game was on Max, and so for people that tuned in to watch this game, I wonder if I can find the amount of viewers, but
the national stage is the biggest part. I mean, JR said she knew how good the players were. She wanted the world to know how good they were, and obviously, I think with all their toughness and their perseverance and just how all these qualities of a basketball team that you desperately need, and the stuff that you can't scout really. I mean, you can see it in a player in different ways, but you can't learn that. And I think to have all those players in one place, I think the one concern is depth, but I think guys girls like Nolan and Smith and Sadler, they're gonna all come along, and Weta, we didn't even mention her. Those are gonna be key players, and they didn't even play too well in these first games. It was the core of Foreman, Sherrod, and Vonleh. And you're going to see Miller play better. You're going to see all of these players kind of congeal throughout the season. And I'm really just so excited. I mean, that's what I mean. I was excited before the year even started, and now I'm just completely ecstatic.
Yeah, no, me too.
And they play tonight against Lemoyne, so we'll see if they play it. Hopefully they don't play down to their competition.
Yeah, but it will be interesting. Lemoyne's coming off a 20-point loss to Colorado State. But
I mean, you can't let that win. It's a trap. There's always the trap game. This early in the year,
for sure,
have that all-out war against LSU that you just thoroughly outplay them. You can start to feel like, oh, maybe we're the number 1 team in the country, and you can't let down on a team like Lemoyne. I mean, it'll be good fun to see how they play, and I expect them to win, obviously, but.
And maybe we can help. Maybe you get Quay going a little bit after that slow start,
and get some of those new girls going.
Yeah,
like a Maddie Nolan, because I mean she came here for shooting. Let me see, how many did she even take? She took 2, missed both, didn't score at all.
Yeah, she didn't even play too much.
Yeah, but I think you'll see Weta play better. I think you'll see Sarah Rose Smith play better, and obviously Quay and Nolan. You maybe see some more Brianna McLeod too. I'm interested to see how she develops in the front court. Whitaker also didn't play too much because of foul trouble, but
I mean that's kind of her role. Like she's never. I believe
Whitaker,
she's only started 2 games in her 4 or 5 year career.
Yeah, Whitaker's mostly just like a ball mover. She'll play within the system. She'll just be there, get rebounds,
But she could be a huge part of this team if she's able to come in and help relieve that pressure off of Nettie and Quay and take some of the bulk of those fouls. If she can't necessarily guard some of those more talented centers and forwards like Angel Reese. And so I don't know. I mean, this whole team, obviously a part of for every team of this caliber, every person is key. But I think it will be interesting with how this bench comes along because I mean, like you said, it was really nice to see the core, work together and play at the top of their game to beat number 1 LSU, the reigning champs. But sometimes, I mean, I don't know. We mentioned that I was a Celtics fan earlier. I mean, it's the Caleb Martins that are stepping up where you're like, what the hell? And those are the players that can step up and really make you a special team that can compete for a national championship. Not saying that Colorado doesn't have to.
You saw LSU last year. I forget who it was that stepped up for them, but they had some bench players. They had some lesser players that really went crazy. Especially it was Carson in the first half of that game went crazy. Jasmine Carson for LSU in the national championship game.
Yeah,
she had the half of her life, and she's gone now. So I think another big reason we beat them is because maybe they aren't as deep of a team as they were before.
Yeah, but I don't know. But to speak to that point, she averaged 8 points a game,
right? So if we can get the Sadlers let the Sadlers have her moments. Let Nolan have her moments. Players like that, I think that'll be the key to really pushing that over the hump to maybe a national championship level team.
Yeah,
which is crazy to me.
Yeah,
I'm already after one game picturing us in that setting. But I think that's all about I have to say. I'm just ecstatic. If I wasn't already excited, I am now. I mean, I'm going to be covering this team for pretty much all year.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they can do with all the qualities they have that I knew they had going in and that were times 1,000 against LSU. I mean, just a historic win and really proud.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. And also for the future, I don't know if this year is as big as it is. Obviously, we'll get the recruits and Dre Payne has already added recruits.
It's gonna get the draw. I mean, we've started to get more recruits lately. We had them signed today. Actually, it was the bigger ones were why am I forgetting? Tabitha Betson and Lova Lagerlid from Sweden. So I mean, I like what they're doing. They're going out and finding shooters. They're going out and finding versatility. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team can progress in the future, because it could turn it just seeing the evolution of the program.
Yeah,
it has been great.
Yeah,
from the start of my freshman year to now, it's just already been such a great turnaround from JR.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, just JR's whole tenure. I mean, she got hired before we came here, and I don't know, looking back at some of those seasons that they had, looking at those records and being like, and then now seeing where they are now, it's really something phenomenal.
Yeah,
and with this team,
she went through the grind.
Yeah, she did.
She had some tough first few years, and finally got to the tournament 2 years ago, lost in the first round, and kind of an upset.
Yeah.
So it was really, last year was make or break,
Yeah.
I'd say, and we made it and more. Like,
Yeah. And then she signed an extension, didn't she?
Yeah, she did, and I'm hoping they sign her to a longer one, because I mean, just how she's been able to lead the team is everything you want in a coach and more.
Yeah, because I'd have to look more at her coaching style as far as the X's and O's, but from what I can tell, as far as a locker room coach and a culture person, like she is I don't know, one of the best of the best. Seems like a super amazing person, super energetic, really wants the best for everyone, and yeah, you know, that's who you want leading a program.
Yeah, I mean, Rick George found the diamond in the rough, because I mean, she was just at Santa Clara in southern Utah before coming here, and then was an assistant, I'm pretty sure, before that, just, you know, at those lower level schools, and Rick George found someone that ended up turning this program around into a team I can picture in the national title picture for years to come.
Yeah. So yeah, and luckily, in comparison to football, we know this team is actually gonna make some noise this year, and this isn't just
right. It wasn't a big upset. I mean, we were up. I mean, it was.
It was the big upset, but
in terms of like, we weren't unranked like we were. We weren't coming off a 1-11 year. We were coming off a Sweet 16 appearance, and we were ranked number 20.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, overall, just really proud.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You can get into the men's if you wanted. You have that box score pulled up. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm ready to get into the men's. Although I wouldn't mind showing more appreciation for the women's team, because what they did was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, if you want to see more about that, I mean, you have my content on the new website.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
go
read.
Talked about the historical ramifications of the win, and like. It was the second time JR's beaten the number one team in her tenure. She beat Stanford a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they were during that COVID year.
Yeah, but it's great to see that on the national stage now. You had some fans that traveled to Vegas for the game. We were actually trying to go.
Yeah,
it sucks that we couldn't.
Some things fell through, but I don't know. As a college student, I don't know. Finding these trips is kind of hard sometimes.
Especially the game is on Monday, so classes and whatever.
But yeah, no. So I guess so that we can head into the men's side of things. Go catch Harrison's recap of the game, and if you want to learn a little bit more, maybe even check out his preview too, and you can learn about some of the newer players joining this Colorado squad, such as Maddie Nolan, Sarah Rose Smith.
You're gonna learn if you don't.
Yeah,
if
you're
gonna
learn.
Already know. You're
gonna learn, but if you want to be ahead of the curve and really understand this team from its depths, then go ahead and check out my boy Harrison on the new Scoba Sports website if you haven't visited already. But on the men's side of things, it was a very interesting game. I'd say.
Your favorite word?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Jake was telling me yesterday that interesting is the word you say when you don't know what to say. But I don't know. I mean,
I would say it was
this
a tale
game,
of two halves.
Yeah, I mean that's what
I didn't watch any of it, but I saw obviously the highlights, and you know, I saw the flow of the game through your Twitter and everything. So
and that's what Tad said after the game, and anybody who watched that game was gonna know that, and that's why I say interesting, because I mean, it was worrisome yet super amazing at the same time. Because I mean, my first biggest takeaway, this defense is gonna be something special. I'll have to see how they match up compared to some of the other top defenses in the nation, but with the players that Tad Boyle goes out and gets, along with the culture that he has built in Colorado, now heading into his 14th year as head coach, this roster is probably the best that he's ever had, and they're very versatile. They only have 3 players under 6'6", if I'm not mistaken. I think it's only our guards, RJ Smith, KJ Simpson, and Julian Hammond. Hadley, I think he's 6'6", and then everyone else is above that. And not only that, but all these guys can move well. Eddie Lampkin Jr., he's a bigger guy. He's still kind of finding his pace a little bit, his movement coming off that back procedure in the offseason, but he moves really well. And he can put the ball on the floor. He has decent footwork, knows how to use his body. So he may not be able to step out as much. But I mean, you look at Hassan Jazop, and you look at And you look at Benga Dak coming in, and those are two guys who are like, I mean, Benga Dak especially, he's 6'11" and moves like a guard. Like he's phenomenal. You look at Cody Williams, he's 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, and he's running like a guard. He's moving like a guard. He can guard pretty much 1 through 4 on any given night, and they have a lot of guys like that. I mean, Javon Hadley can guard 1 through 4. Tristan DeSilva can pretty much guard 1 through 5. Luke O'Brien can guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5. Like all these guys are tall enough, athletic enough, and have the heart and will and grind to be able to work together and really play just suffocating defense with getting their hands in passing lanes, getting their hands up on shots. And I mean, I know Towson is obviously one of the easier opponents that Colorado will play this year, but they had a really hard time trying to get the ball inside the 3-point line. Their offense is really stagnant for most of the game, and I mean on the boards, Colorado rebounded them by 12. I mean Towson shot under 40% on the night. I think they shot 35.2%. I mean, just all around on the defensive end and on the glass, this Colorado team will be special. And so that's the first thing I want to point out.
What would you, before you get into your next part, who would you say played the best or impressed you the most that didn't show up in the stat sheet? Because I know KJ had a great game, and if you look at the stats, Javon and Tristan as well. But who would you say?
I mean, if you ask the team, you ask Tad, you ask KJ, you ask Tristan, because we did after the game. They'll tell you that Javon Hadley is the most underrated player on this squad, and that's 100% true. He led the Buffs in rebounds last year with almost 6 a game, I think it was, despite being only 6'6". He's the 4th smallest dude on the roster of guys who play, and in this game he had 7 rebounds, or 9 rebounds, my bad, and led the team, and he's just a ball magnet. He's gonna get after it. I'll have to see. I'm interested to see how his 3-point shooting comes along, because he only took. I think we talked about this last podcast, with how he only took 1 last year, but actually shot 35% in JUCO the year before. So I have to see how his 3-point shooting comes along. But I mean, on the glass, he's phenomenal for only being a 6'6" guard, and yeah, he's gonna get after it, just like all those guys. And I think another person along those lines is like R.J. Smith. He didn't score. He only scored 1 point, I think it was, in the exhibition. Scored 0 points in his 13 minutes in his first collegiate action. But he's one of those guys that's getting on the floor. That's he's not necessarily expressive, but he brings the energy with the plays that he makes and the hustle that he brings this team. And so I'd say those were the two biggest that didn't really show up in the stat sheet, but had that impact.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to RJ after practice last week, and he talked about bringing the energy and intensity especially on the offensive end. So,
yeah. No, so yeah, no, those guys were all exciting, and then offensively, I mean, they had the struggles that you'd expect them to have, as far as shooting and turning the ball over. It's the struggles that Tad Boyle has harped about since last year, during the fall practice and the preseason, in the press conference after this game. I mean, Colorado turned the ball over 16 times. In that first half, they shot 0 for 7.
I was about to say,
and it was like
3-point disparity. Like, did they shoot like 7 straight? They made like 7 straight out of the second half.
So yeah, it was interesting. Because even though they had that very slow start, you were like, oh God, like how's this gonna go? And in that first half, they had 8 turnovers in both halves, but going into half, they're only up 4 points. And so with those turnover struggles, with those shooting struggles, you were really worried about that offense and what they were going to do. You're like, okay, they're going to be able to lock down teams, but this might be a kind of a repeat of last year, where you can get kind of get to the rim, you're going to get your few points in transition, but can you really add this another layer of being able to shoot the 3 ball?
Do you think it's gonna be another really inconsistent year of shooting, or do you think that they were just really figuring stuff out in that first half and maybe found something in that second half that they can bring moving forward?
Yeah, in the first half, they got up early. They scored a lot of transition points, like I said, And then once Towson kind of started to get going a little bit, that's when the offense really started to get stagnant, and they started turning the ball over. There were a lot of first pass shots early in the shot clock. I mean, Cody Williams only took 4 shots, but one of them, he took 2 3-pointers, and one of them was a first pass shot with like 25 seconds left in the shot clock, like a few feet off the line, and it's like you just can't have shots like that, you know. And so that's kind of where the offense was going through in the first half, and I feel like that's really the issues. That's where the issues start to happen, is when this team starts to be a little more selfish, because you don't have necessarily. When you look at this roster, outside of really Tristan Silva, maybe KJ Simpson, you don't really have any ISO guys that can just go one-on-one and get you a basket. You need to move the ball around. You need to get guys moving and cutting. And I mean, that's what got them the early lead. Their first basket, moved the ball around, opened up a KJ Simpson backdoor cut for a reverse layup. And then once they got back to that, their first possession out of the half, they were moving the ball around, dumped it down to Hadley inside the 3-point line. Now he kicks out to the corner to Luke O'Brien. He swings up to the wing as Towson is scrambling to KJ Simpson, and Simpson with his improved jump shot knocked down the 3. Now you hit your first 3 of the game.
Yeah, I think the jump shot with Simpson is going to be something huge going forward. If he can hit threes consistently, that's going to open everything else up.
Yeah. No,
I'm going to let you keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. Because that is really a huge part of his game, and it did open. I mean, it was kind of hard to tell in this game a little bit, just because the 3-point shooting came in a bunch. I'd say bunches, but it literally just came in a bunch.
It's like a big wave.
Yeah, they missed 7, knocked down their first 8 of the second half off of great ball movement and also just unconscious shooting, and then missed their last 3 or 4 to end the game. But yeah, no, KJ, if he went 3 or 4 on the night from 3. If he can get his jump shot going this season, that will be huge for him individually as far as driving the basketball, but also for the offense. Luke O'Brien, he only went 1 for 3, but he's been shooting the ball well. Like I said, Hadley's looking to implement his 3-point shot. And Tristan Silva, he went 3 or 4. He has a smooth stroke. He's not going to be one of those guys that's necessarily knocking down 5 or 6 3-pointers a game. He's not really going to be putting them up, but he's going to get open. He's going to help. He's going to help put pressure on the perimeter and allow those driving lanes to open up. And so yeah, no, this team was. It was great to see their resilience against a weaker opponent. Going out of the half and then just making sure that they did everything that they were supposed to.
Yeah.
And they came out with the dub. So, yeah, I don't know. That was a lot of talking, but
no, it's fine. I mean, it's good that you had all that insight because, I wasn't there, so I didn't really see what who really the overall feeling of the team in terms of some of their weaknesses. We talked about some of their strengths and some of the newer players, how they would adjust. It's gonna be interesting to see because it looked like Joe Hurlbert, who might be the back. Who did they play at the 5 most of the time? Because I know they started Tristan.
Yeah, they started Tristan at the 5. Lampkin looks a little. He played 18 minutes.
He just still doesn't look like he's quite in shape yet.
Yeah, he had 4 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. He moves his body well, but he kind of, I don't know, compared to his highlights last year, he just looks a little slower, still looking kind of to shake the rust off a little bit because he really didn't start kind of getting into the midst of things until the exhibition rolled around, and that was just a week ago. So yeah, he's going to be a little interesting at the beginning of the season, but that's why you have this kind of preseason-esque feeling where you're playing these non-conference opponents that tend to be a little bit weaker, and hopefully Lampkin can find his footing a little bit. So yeah. But yeah, no, Lampke came off the bench. I'm assuming he'll probably switch into that starting role once he kind of gets his footing together a little bit, and then you probably expect Lob to come off the bench. But then from that, Tristan is gonna play a fair amount at the 5. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see the starting lineup that they played on the floor.
Yeah, it looks like the rotation, at least for when they get into the starters with Eddie instead of, I would guess it'd be Luke. It would be Cody, Tristan, Javon, Luke, KJ, Asan, Eddie, RJ, and Julian. So it's cool to see RJ in that rotation.
Yeah.
Not Joe Hurlburt, who I thought might have been that backup
Yeah.
five.
Yeah, I thought so too going into the season, especially because with the implementation of their 5-out offense and Hurlburt being able to shoot the 3-ball a little bit better than a lot of big men, I thought he might see a little bit more time.
Maybe he will if they start the season kind of slow from 3. Maybe just put in more of a pick and pop threat.
But yeah, we'll have to see how Hurlburt comes about. I think it also I think it did. I mean, it obviously hurt the Buffs to have that slow end to the first half in the game. I mean, that hurts generally. But to not be able to have those little bit of extra minutes to kind of get your guys on the floor a little bit more that you wanted to see play, that'll be tough. So when they play the Grambling State Tigers,
when is that game? Friday.
It's this Friday. Not only will the Buffs need to get revenge, but if they're able to
Oh, then did they lose to Grambling last year?
They did, and that was I believe that was the first game after Tennessee. That huge Tennessee upset.
I forgot about that.
One of the worst losses.
They beat Tennessee, and then right after.
Yeah. No, it was.
Were you there?
I was not there because that was a part of their Maui Invitational, if I'm not mistaken. Right. That was a very tough watch from home. But either way, if Colorado was able to get a big on, I mean, first off, need the dub. I mean, that Grambling. I mean, you can talk to anybody who's been around Colorado basketball, and they'll tell you that they're still angry that Colorado lost last year to Grambling.
Yeah.
So first off, we need that dub. But if they're able to get a big early and I don't know, get in some of those guys that didn't get to see as much minutes, that'd be fantastic because it was surprising and a little bit alarming to see the slow end to the first half and then have to play your better guys to start that second half, and it was good to see them separate the lead and get Colorado going. Yeah, I mean, you only saw Banggot Dak for 4 minutes. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of what he was going to do, especially with how much he's been a part of practice. As Sanjay he got in for a few minutes in the first half and then didn't play for like 15, 20 minutes before coming in with like 7 minutes left in the second half. And so, I mean, those are the freshmen you want to see. And then obviously from the red shirts, like, yeah, you only saw Hurlburt for a minute. You only saw Harrison Carrington for a minute. So yeah, I mean, you're not expecting necessarily Hurlburt and Carrington or Dak necessarily to really step up and have too big of a role this year. But with the tools that these guys have and what they can bring to the team, I mean, you're always wanting to look for the best potential outcome, and so you're just hoping that these guys can come along. But also, Colorado, I don't know, at a certain point, you need to find your solidified rotation. I think that this stretch before Pac-12 play will be helpful as far as finding those.
Yeah.
Those main probably 7, 8, maybe 9, but probably 7, 8.
9. But yeah, I think there will be more likely 8.
Yeah,
we'll see who those end up being.
Because I'd expect it to be obviously the starters from last game. So Cody, Tristan, Javon, Luke, and KJ, and then you have Lampkin, who's probably gonna move in that starting lineup. And from there, that's where you have Julian Hammond, who's gonna be the backup, and that's where you kind of have your 7, and that's and then your 8 and 9 guys are gonna be, RJ Smith, Sanjay Zope, and then from then on, that's when you're going into, obviously down on the roster, 10, 11, 12, Banggot, Dak, Hurlburt, Carrington, and those
and your boy Greg Gerhardt.
Yeah, my boy. It was his birthday recently. So happy birthday to him,
Greg Gerhardt. Bench legend.
So yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I hope that was enough for about that game. I was really yapping.
I mean, you're gonna have your own basketball podcast soon, hopefully, so you can talk about all that.
Yeah, no, I want to get that off the ground and going, because there's a lot to talk about, and basketball is my sport, so yeah. But I mean, looking ahead to Grambling this Saturday, they beat North Texas Dallas. Okay, they beat North Texas Dallas by 15 points in Grambling's first matchup of the year. So yeah, Grambling 1-0. But obviously, I don't know. Not one of the. I mean, they're a part of the SWAC. They're
in the championship
mid-major.
of it.
Yeah, I mean they were in the championship of it, but still not one of those teams that really stands out, and that's why that loss last year was so alarming.
Yeah.
But Grambling's leading scorer from that game, Shondarius Cowart, I believe he graduated.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. So
maybe you won't have.
So Buffs won't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it'll be a little bit interesting.
And it'll be at home this time.
Yeah.
So
it will be at home, and
our home court advantage is unique because of the altitude. So
yeah, for sure. And I mean that Colorado Event Center got loud. Despite the women's team also being on at LSU.
Yeah. It was cool to see them watch the end of the LSU game at the
that was
center.
neat. I love the overrated chants. That was sick. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see how the Colorado faithful will be this year. I remember last year seeing Shador and Coach Prime at the game, so
yeah,
so
it'd be cool if they see them.
Yeah, interested to see them pop out. Maybe we'll get to see Travis at some of the games along with some of the other
Especially
guys.
with the women's games, we'll see if they show up to see Shalimai. I know she won't really play, but
still, of course, want to go and support the teams.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we see the basketball team at football games. We see them at soccer games. We see the women's team at volleyball games and stuff. And
I wanted to mention about soccer. If we're getting close to the end of this,
yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to.
I pretty much wrapped up on basketball, so yeah, I'm down to move into soccer.
Yeah, soccer made the NCAA tournament. We weren't really too sure about that. They didn't get a locked spot. I know there were like 31 or 32 teams that got a locked spot, so they were an at-large bid. But they ended up with a really good season overall, 13-4-3. Pulling off a stunning win over Utah to end the year. I know Shira James.
I mean, a stunning 3-game win streak to end the year.
But that Utah game in particular, we were down 2-0. Came back, 89th minute, Shira James, winner.
Yeah.
She made first team All Pac-12. I saw that as well.
I think I need to watch back the highlights on that then. Cause
Ava Priest made the All-Freshman team, and I think Hope Leba made one of the All Pac-12 teams as well. Yeah, all third team, and she also made the All-Freshman. So, actually, it was Faith Leba. That's my mistake.
Yeah, it gets a little tough with the twins.
Yeah, it is the twins. But Hope Leba also, shout out to her. She's been good, too.
Yeah, she scored her first goal this season.
She
against,
scored.
Arizona State.
That was an amazing goal in that.
Yeah.
So, awesome to see them. They'll be playing Texas A&M this Friday at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
In College Station. So, it'll be a tough one. A&M was a seeded team, so they're I think an eight seed, and so it'll be a tough challenge. But I think we've been able to overcome some of that kind of middle of the season fatigue, where we kind of got into a slump, had some tough draws against inferior opponents, had some losses against some of the better teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
But overall, this is a really, really good team, and if we can get Shira going, we can get an early goal against a team like A&M. I did hear that A&M had the most shots in the SEC, so they have a really good offensive attack.
Yeah, so it'll be up to Jordan Knights.
Yeah, Jordan Knights. Probably, I don't know. She didn't make All Pac-12 for keepers, but I would say she's probably an honorable mention or close to it. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup between a team that puts a lot of shots on the net, like A&M does, and with Jordan Knights. Really rock solid in goal for most of the season, and yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do. I didn't know it was this soon. It's this Friday. I just found that out.
I didn't necessarily realize either, but it looks like I might have to try and watch 2 games at once again for this men's game.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be on Pac-12 Network or something.
Yeah. I don't know, East Streams or something, but
yeah.
I don't know if East Streams carries this type of stuff, but I don't know. They got everything, it seems.
We'll see.
But
I'm just excited to see them in the tournament. It was the first time since 2020 in the tournament. So
yeah.
I'm hopefully able to do that. Volleyball, still kind of struggling after a really good start to the year. They lost to Oregon, but they did beat Oregon State, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in a 5-set thriller. So it was good to see them. But and Oregon's number 7 in the country. So
yeah, I will say it is kind of tough. I mean, being like this is the last year of the Pac-12 for Colorado, but I mean, you're looking at football specifically because that's the biggest college sport, and that's where the Pac-12 is striving shining the brightest. But I mean, across all sports, the Pac-12 is definitely a force to be reckoned with. They're conference of champions for a reason.
We've touched on that pretty much every podcast of the year, that the Pac-12 this year is going out with a bang.
Yeah.
And I mean, it should be in women's hoops too. I mean, you're already seeing it.
Yeah.
With USC upsetting number 7 and us beating number 1 in the country.
And Stanford being fantastic.
Stanford's great. UCLA's great. Utah's great at women's hoops, and we'll obviously see in the men's hoops a lot of great
USC,
teams.
UCLA, Oregon's always a good one. You know, I'd have to look at some of the other teams, but
Arizona.
Yeah. But Arizona. How could I miss them? They led the media poll, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I will say the most interesting game for me personally, whenever they face Utah.
Oh my God!
Lawson Lovering revenge.
Do you know if he's starting for them?
I don't know. Let me look that up real quick.
Lawson Lovering. Second mention of him on the pod, or at least second.
Well, I mean, in my podcast, or not
Probably
my podcast, in my basketball preview that's going up, I wrote a few paragraphs about that man. So that would be
be on the lookout for his basketball
preview.
I guess essay I'll call it, because it's so long.
Well, we got two. We got the short version, and then the short condensed version.
We
got the
version.
The sicko nerd. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. So, either way, those are going up soon. But let's see. Utah handled Eastern Washington 101-66.
Did he play?
This is interesting.
Yep, he started.
Lovering started 16 minutes, 2 points, 4 rebounds, an assist and a steal.
They started 2 centers?
4 fouls and 2 turnovers. So, okay, but yeah, it does make sense.
I will refuse to speak on this matter.
But that team will be interesting because
they'll be solid. I mean,
I kind of expected.
They were solid last year.
Yeah,
we beat them most of the time, but they're a nice little rivalry.
Yeah. And I expected Brandon Carlson to move on last year, but he
they're actually starting both.
He returned for his senior year.
They're gonna have some size that we're gonna have to deal with.
So yeah, 2 7-footers. I mean, Utah is known for their 7-footers. So yeah, it fits in with their culture and what they try and do down there. But yeah, no. Either way, that's a minute away. Colorado has Grambling this Friday to get revenge on. So
and then the women's team against Lemoyne.
Yeah,
don't want to fall into that trap after the big win.
Yeah, for sure. And then Texas A&M
for soccer
national championship.
It should be a good weekend, and then obviously football against Arizona. Hopefully, trying to find that win.
Yeah, for sure.
I predicted us to go 5-7, the football team, at the beginning of the year, and if we get just one more, we'll meet my projection. But I don't want us to meet our projection. I want us to go past it. So hopefully, once we get to the Washington State game, maybe we'll see where they're at, because they've been struggling lately. Utah still without their starting quarterback. I think he's out for the year. So that could turn into an interesting game to close out the year. Yeah, overall, I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, no, we are, and I mean, I don't know. Skull Buffs is in a good place. Everything's still thriving. We're not going to shout at everyone like last time, but
that was funny.
But
I didn't even watch it back. I didn't see all the shout outs yet.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I love the energy on that, but yeah, no, yeah, just everything is going so fantastic outside of really football. If I'm being honest, I didn't.
There's at least some. I mean, obviously, there's all this excitement with football, but in terms of
it was weirdly
results,
like if you told me this is where we'd be before the TCU game, I'd be like, okay, yeah, for sure. Like I'd be like even if you told me this, I'd be like, okay.
TCU set the bar too high for us
because it was just such a crazy game. Like it was literally just like such a good game, bro. That whole time, like, I mean, it was just back and forth, and. I mean, the Travis interception and him just going up and making plays the whole game.
How well the offense played.
Yeah, and Dylan Edwards going absolutely nuclear, like 3 touchdowns. Like, it really seemed like that team was unstoppable.
It's tough to see where they're at now with dealing with some drama and obviously the losses.
Yeah, and injuries and
it's only going to go
all those things.
I would say it's only going to get better from here.
For sure.
After this season.
For sure, because you're going to get a fair amount of returners.
Yeah, you're going to get returners. Obviously, guys like Edwards, Omarion Miller are freshmen. Travis will be back next year. Shador will, in all likelihood, be back.
Yeah.
So, and then hopefully with some of those better players on the defense, they might like Bentley and Jordan Dominic.
And it's also interesting, like I don't know, like you can look at like Cormani McLean.
Yeah, freshman as well.
You know,
I didn't even mention him.
So
see how he develops.
So yeah, I mean, there's freshmen on that roster. So
yeah, we'll be just fine in terms of
future's bright.
I know Shiloh's a grad student, so he'll be gone.
Yeah, but
Trevor Woods, some of those defensive pieces and players, some like Weaver. We talked to him just this morning, and he mentioned we talked about how he's a senior and he'll be probably heading to the league. So
yeah, it'll be senior day for the last home game this Saturday. So.
Are you in the press box for it?
I am.
I am also.
So yeah, we'll be back there running it back. Hopefully it's not too cold.
It's a day game. I don't think it'll be too bad.
Either way.
With the sun.
It's day right now and it's snowing, so.
True.
But
let me check what the forecast is looking like.
All right, we're gonna get a little weather section on this
section
podcast, and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, we got to wrap it up soon. It's high of 54, so it'll be a little chilly.
High of 54, low of 33.
Not horrible, but still a little chilly.
But
we'll be in the cozy press box, though, thankfully.
So I think that's everything for episode 9 of Skull Buffs SportsCast, episode 1 of the Skull Buffs Weathercast. But I'm Oliver Hayes.
I'm Harrison Simeon.
And as always, you heard it here first. Peace.